Michelle Fortier is a woman with a huge heart and a quiet force that moves mountains every day. Her life was turned upside down when her husband, the love of her life, passed away unexpectedly. Now, Michelle is left with the responsibility of being both a father and a mother to her little Matthew, who is only 5 years old. The pain of her loss is still fresh, and the struggle to make ends meet is a constant battle. Every day is a challenge, and the life she once knew seems to have fallen apart. But for Michelle, there is no room for weakness. She gets up every morning with unwavering determination. Her dream is simple: to ensure that Matthew has a life filled with love and dignity. Every smile from her son, every laugh, is the fuel that keeps her going. Michelle is not just a mother, she is a silent heroine who faces every challenge with courage, fighting against the waves of uncertainty that threaten to bring her down. Michelle's journey to find a job is a reflection of her resilience. After countless attempts and interviews that leave a mark on her weary soul, she finally gets an opportunity at one of the city's biggest tech companies. The feeling of relief is immense, but it also comes with a hint of nervousness. The imposing building of the company rises before her, a symbol of both hope and fear. The glass structure seems to reflect her insecurities and her hopes. The job she gets is humble, but it is an opportunity to build a solid foundation for her son. She will be responsible for serving coffee and taking care of the kitchen, tasks that, although modest, are carried out with absolute commitment. Every cup of coffee, every space cleaned, is a declaration of her effort and dedication. Michelle throws herself into her work with a smile, even when the days are long and exhausting. She carries with her the weight of responsibility and the hope that every little effort will contribute to a better future for Matthew. Every gesture, every action, is guided by an unconditional love that makes her overcome challenges and move forward. Michelle Fortier feels butterflies in her stomach every time she enters the company's large glass building. The building, majestic and intimidating, is a constant reminder of the challenge she faces. To her, Nicholas Valiant, the company's owner, is a distant and imposing figure. His name is synonymous with success and innovation, but it is a name that seems to be in a world completely separate from her own. She has never met him in person, and in fact he is just a shadow that hovers over the workspace, like a distant star in the vast corporate sky. The first encounter with Nicholas occurs on an ordinary day, but for Michelle, it is a moment that turns into something much more significant. She is in the middle of her daily tasks, adjusting the arrangement of items in the kitchen and making coffee with almost ritualistic precision, when Nicholas appears. His presence makes the entire room seem to freeze. He walks into the kitchen, and Michelle feels the weight of her own humility in contrast. With the power he emanates. Every step he takes seems to echo in Michelle's heart, who feels small and insignificant. She watches from afar, trying not to disturb, but her mind is racing. The words of encouragement she tries to give herself sound empty in the face of Nicholas' imposing presence. The attempt to maintain her composure is almost painful, and the pride of doing her job well mixed with a feeling of insecurity. The brief eye contact she has with Nicholas is charged with a subtle tension, a constant reminder of the difference between their lives. But for a moment, Nicholas' figure seems to soften, and she feels that there is more than just a physical distance between them. Madame Breton's arrival at the office is like the arrival of a storm. Known for her severity and lack of empathy, Madame Breton makes the work environment a daily testing ground for Michelle. Every small mistake is magnified, every detail overlooked is grounds for scathing criticism. Michelle, who works hard to keep the kitchen spotless and the coffee fresh, feels the constant pressure of not being enough. Madame Breton's critical gaze is like a lightning bolt that illuminates every flaw, highlighting Michelle's every insecurity. With each criticism, Michelle feels as if she is falling apart inside. She knows that her efforts are always noticed, but the lack of recognition and constant criticism are chipping away at her confidence. The effort she puts into each task is deafeningly silenced by her boss's coldness and lack of support. Even on days when Michelle feels exhausted and on the verge of giving up, her love for Matthew keeps her going. She continues to work with a dedication that defies Madame Breton's ruthless treatment. Every cup of coffee she pours, every space she cleans, is an act of resistance against the adversity she faces. Frustration and discouragement are constant companions, but Matthew's smile is the guiding light, keeping her going despite the daily challenges. Michelle faces one of the most distressing situations of her life when Matthew's nanny calls to say she is sick and will not be able to look after the boy that day. Michelle's heart races, a whirlwind of worry and despair taking over her. She has no choice but to take Matthew to work. The thought of facing Madame Breton's disapproval and the discomfort of her colleagues is a huge burden, but the need to protect and care for her son outweighs any fear. As she walks to her office, holding Matthew's small hand, Michelle feels the weight of responsibility and shame. Each step towards the imposing building is a challenge, an internal struggle between the fear of losing her job and the desire to ensure her son is safe. The fear of being judged, the anguish of not being a perfect mother, all of these mix together in a cauldron of emotions. Michelle, o observer de lunge, sente uma onda de emoções conflitantes. Ela percebe o quanto seu filho está confortável e feliz na presença de Nicholas, e essa cena alivia a tensão que carregava. A amizade inesperada entre Matthew e Nicholas parece oferecer vislumbre de esperança para futuro mais livre e cheio de possibilidades. Michelle não pode deixar de sentir profundo alivio e toque de gratidão, vendo que, apesar das adversidades, pequeno momento de bondade e conexão pode mudar tudo. A porta se abre, e Madame Breton entra, acompanhada de Michelle. A expresso de reprovação de chef é como peso esmagador, e suas palavras cortam o ar como uma frija que faz o coração de Michelle acelerar. A repreensão pública diante de Nicholas Valiant é uma humilhação difícil de suportar. O olhar severo de Madame Breton é como lembrete cruel das dificuldades e do julgamento constante que Michelle enfrenta. As palavras de Madame Breton são afiadas e implacáveis, e Michelle sente a pressão aumentar a cada segundo. O medo de perder o emprego, a vergonha e a sensação de fracasso se entrelacam, criando uma tempestade emocional que amica engolir Michelle. As lágrimas se acumulam sus olhos, e ela tenta manter a compostura, mas a situação é quase insuportável. No entanto, a reação de Nicholas é uma revelação inesperada. Ele se levanta com uma firmeza que transforma o ambiente. Suas palavras são farol de justiça e empaixa meio ao frio formalismo do escritório. Nicholas não apenas defende Michelle, mas também expressa carinho genuíno por Matthew e respeito pela dificuldade de ser uma mãe solteira ambiente de trabalho impiedoso. A tensão na sala é palpável, e a postura protetora de Nicholas se torna baluarte contra a crueldade de Madame Breton. Michelle, mesmo com o coração pesado, sente fio de esperança ao ver alguém poderoso se posicionar ao seu lado. A justiça de Nicholas e sua compreensão não apenas desafiam a autoridade de Madame Breton, mas também oferecem a Michelle vislumbre de dignidade e respeito que ela havia perdido de vista. A interação entre Nicholas e Madame Breton é confronto emocional que redefine o ambiente de trabalho e abre espaço para uma nova dinâmica de apoio e empatia. O impacto do confronto entre Madame Breton e Nicholas ressoa na sala. A tensão é palpável, e Michelle se encontra à beira das lágrimas, o medo e a vergonha misturados com profundo alivio. Quando Nicholas comica a falar, sua voz firme corta o ar passado, trazendo tom de justiça e compreensão que parece desarmar a frija de Madame Breton. Nicholas se dirige a Michelle com uma gentileza inesperada, seu olher a misto de admiraco e solidaridade. Ele elogia o tempo especial que teve com Matthew, destacando como a presença do menino true brilho raro a sua rotina. As palavras de Nicholas são balsamo para o coração de Michelle, que, apesar de ainda estar carregada de preocupação, comica a sentir fio de esperança no meio de tempestade emotional. Nicholas's eyes meet Matthew's, and a sincere smile appears on his face. He speaks with a tenderness that surprises Michelle, promising to take the boy on a trip to the United Arab Emirates, as if the promise were a way to celebrate their unexpected connection. Nicholas's sincerity and enthusiasm make Matthew feel special and valued, something Michelle has struggled to provide for her son. The scene is both a relief and an emotional upheaval. Michelle watches the interaction, her heart heavy with a mixture of gratitude and hope. She is touched by the way Nicholas treats her son and the way he defends his dignity. It is an acknowledgement that goes beyond the simple fulfillment of duty. It is a gesture of humanity and empathy that brings new meaning to an environment where she has always felt judged and despised. The weight of Madame Breton's words still hangs in the air as Michelle tries to process the situation. Her boss's disapproving look is a painful blow, and Michelle feels the intensity of the moment in every fiber of her being. Her heart is beating fast, her hands shaking slightly as she tries to maintain her composure in the face of Nicholas and her own anguish. However, Nicholas's demeanor becomes an anchor of hope and support. His intervention is a reflection of an empathy that Michelle rarely experiences. His words, full of justice and understanding, are a breath of fresh air in a work environment that until now has felt stifling and unforgiving. Nicholas's steadfastness in the face of Madame Breton's cruelty is a validation of Michelle's hard work and dignity as a mother and employee. Michelle feels a deep sense of relief, a feeling that is both overwhelming and comforting. She realizes that even in the midst of adversity, there is room for kindness and understanding. Nicholas's promise to Matthew is not only a promise of fun and adventure, but also a sign that what Michelle is trying to build for her son is being recognized and valued. As Michelle prepares to leave the room with Matthew by her side, she can't help but feel a shift in the atmosphere. Nicholas's kindness and willingness to speak out for her brings a new perspective to the environment in which she works. Michelle faces a future that, although still uncertain, is now illuminated by a new hope, a hope that perhaps things can change for the better. The day ends and, finally, Michelle feels a deep relief that envelopes her like a warm embrace. After a beginning filled with tension and uncertainty, she looks out of the office with a mixture of relief and gratitude. The feeling of relief is almost palpable, the weight of guilt and anxiety slowly dissolves as she walks alongside Matthew, her heart beating with a new rhythm of hope. Each step towards the house is a release of the tensions accumulated during the day. Michelle looks at Matthew, who is still beaming from Nicholas' promise, and smiles, feeling an inner warmth she has not felt for a long time. Matthew's presence, full of life and curiosity, is a constant reminder of why she fights so hard, and now, seeing the joy in his eyes, Michelle feels a deep sense of fulfillment. The walk home is permeated by a sense of anticipation. Michelle knows that, although the day is over, the impact of Nicholas' promises resonates in her mind. The prospect of a better future for Matthew, with moments of joy and unexpected adventures, is a source of hope that lights the way back home. She imagines the smile on Matthew's face, imagining how he will react when he finds out that Nicholas' promise has come true. This thought fills her heart with a quiet joy. As Michelle and Matthew arrive home, the feeling of relief is accompanied by a gentle anxiety. The thought that life can begin to unfold in a different, more positive way brings a sense of renewal. The gratitude she feels for Nicholas is not only for his intervention that day, but also for recognizing the value and dignity of her daily struggle. Michelle is ready to seize the moments ahead, eager to see where new opportunities may take her family. Saturday arrives and Michelle's home is filled with a vibrant and joyful atmosphere. The day is special because it is the time she dedicates completely to her son, Matthew. They play together, laugh and build castles out of blocks, a welcome relief after a week full of challenges. The sound of Matthew's laughter fills the room with a lightness that Michelle deeply appreciates. The phone rings, interrupting the fun unexpectedly. Michelle answers without much expectation, but when she hears Mr. Nicholas Valiant's voice on the other end of the line, her heart skips a beat. The surprise is evident in her voice when Nicholas confirms the details of the promised trip, a gesture that confirms the seriousness and affection with which he has committed to keeping his word. Michelle feels a gentle warmth spread through her chest, as emotion mixes with gratitude. The fact that Nicholas remembers and keeps his promise is a reflection of his character and how he values what Michelle and Matthew represent. This call is not just a confirmation of a promise, but a reminder that there are people willing to make a difference in the lives of others in unexpected and meaningful ways. When she shares the news with Matthew, the boy's excitement explodes into an infectious reaction. He jumps around the room, his energy is uncontrollable, and his questions about the trip become a series of small bursts of joy. The smile on Matthew's face is the pure and honest reflection of his happiness, a moment that makes Michelle's heart swell with intense joy. The prospect that Matthew is about to live an experience. The incredible news, combined with Nicholas's generous gesture, is a touching reminder that even challenges can bring surprising and wonderful results. The news turns the day into a sea of excitement and anticipation, and Michelle watches her son with a satisfied smile. Every laugh and expression of joy from Matthew is an affirmation that despite the difficulties, there is always room for moments of happiness and hope. The future now seems to shine with new possibilities, illuminated by the promise fulfilled and the warmth of an unexpected connection. Finally, the big day has arrived. The sun shines with a welcoming warmth and the gentle breeze fills the air with promise and possibility. Michelle, Matthew, and Nicholas are on their way to the zoo, and the anticipation is palpable. Matthew's enthusiasm is contagious, his eyes light up with the excitement of a child about to experience a great adventure. The car is filled with laughter and anticipation. Matthew, sitting in the back seat, can barely contain his excitement. He holds Nicholas' hand tightly, and he smiles with genuine warmth beside him. Every moment feels like a new discovery for Matthew, from the small, animated conversations about the animals he's about to see to the dreams he shares about what he hopes to find at the zoo. Matthew's vibrant energy is a reflection of the impact Nicholas has had on his life, transforming a simple outing into a magical experience. When they arrive at the zoo, the spectacle of colors and sounds leaves Matthew in awe. He races from one exhibit to the next, taking in every detail with an insatiable curiosity. The zoo, with its rich tapestry of animals and environments, feels like a fantasy world to him. Nicholas, watching Matthew's joy, finds himself transformed by the experience. The genuine connection between him and the boy is palpable, and the empathy he feels makes the trip even more meaningful. The three of them explore the zoo together, and time seems to fly by. They laugh at the monkeys jumping from branch to branch and are fascinated by the size of the elephants. They follow Matthew as he asks endless questions and shares his discoveries. With each new viewing, Matthew's joy is a reminder of how life can be enchanting and full of surprises. Nicholas and Michelle, watching the boy's happiness, share a silent understanding, an acknowledgement that this is a unique and precious moment. As the day progresses, Matthew's energy and excitement do not diminish. They indulge in popcorn and ice cream, and Nicholas, who has not experienced a moment of simplicity and genuine joy in a long time, finds himself immersed in the experience. The feeling of being involved in something so pure and true, without the pressures of his hectic routine, is a refreshing reminder of what really matters. The zoo tour ends, but Nicholas' kindness does not end with him. When he returns home, the exhaustion of such an exciting day is evident, and Matthew, exhausted from all the fun, falls asleep in the back seat of the car, a peaceful smile still lighting his face. Nicholas' gaze upon the sleeping boy is full of tenderness and a sense of protection. Upon arriving at Michelle's house, Nicholas offers to carry Matthew carefully to his room. The gesture is simple, but full of meaning. Nicholas cares for the boy with a gentleness that touches Michelle deeply. He arranges the blanket over Matthew with an almost fatherly affection, his expression of care reflecting a respect and consideration that is rare in her busy, impersonal world. Michelle, watching the scene, is touched by Nicholas' unexpected kindness. The surprise of seeing such a powerful and busy man show such deep and genuine care is a reminder of Nicholas' true nature. He is not just the distant CEO, he is someone capable of empathy and compassion that transcends expectations. After settling Matthew, Nicholas turns to Michelle, offering her a coffee as a way to prolong the moment of connection between them. When he asks if he can call her Michelle, the formality that initially separated them dissolves, giving way to a more personal and authentic bond. The conversation that follows is a space for Michelle and Nicholas to share more about themselves, revealing a more personal and vulnerable side. Michelle, touched by Nicholas' attention, can't help but wonder about his personal life. Upon learning that he never had children, she realizes that the connection they have formed goes beyond the simple gesture of a trip to the zoo. It is an opportunity to get to know each other more deeply, revealing aspects of their lives that would otherwise remain hidden. As they talk, the chemistry between Michelle and Nicholas strengthens. The feeling of being with someone who understands and values her struggles and dreams is a new kind of comfort for Michelle. Nicholas' kindness and attention become a promise that, despite adversity, there are people capable of bringing light and warmth into our lives. The connection that forms between them is a testament to how simple and genuine moments can create deep and lasting bonds. The day that seemed to be over takes on a new perspective as night falls. Michelle, after a long day full of emotions and discoveries, is alone in the kitchen, making a coffee while reflecting on the day. The vision of Nicholas taking care of Matthew is still fresh in her mind, and she feels a mix of admiration and confusion. Nicholas' gesture not only touched her heart, but also awakened something deeper within her. As the aroma of coffee fills the room, Michelle hears a soft knock on the door. When she opens it, she finds Nicholas there, with a gentle smile and a bouquet of flowers in his hands. His eyes shine with a sincerity that she cannot ignore. In a soft tone, he says that he wanted to thank her for the wonderful day and to express how much it meant to him to see Matthew so happy. Michelle, with her heart pounding, accepts the flowers, a simple gesture but full of meaning. The close contact, Nicholas' comforting presence and his thoughtful words create a moment of intense emotional connection. The tension that has built up throughout the day dissolves, replaced by a sense of warmth and understanding that is new and unexpected. As they talk about their day and share their own stories, the connection between them becomes palpable. Michelle realizes that what began as admiration for Nicholas' kindness is transforming into something deeper. The look Nicholas gives her is filled with a mixture of respect and something more, something that Michelle begins to recognize as an awakening of feelings that they have both tried to ignore. As the night progresses and they say goodbye, Michelle can't help but feel emotional. Nicholas' simple gesture, his presence, and their sincere exchange of feelings create a space where the possibility of something more meaningful becomes inevitable. They know that this is just the beginning of something that could change their lives forever. The awakening of feelings between them is palpable and, with it, a new and promising journey begins to unfold before their eyes. The days that follow after that encounter in the kitchen are filled with a sweet tension, a feeling of anticipation that hangs in the air whenever Michelle and Nicholas are around. What was once just a discreet attraction and mutual admiration now turns into something more, something that they both feel but are still hesitant to openly acknowledge. They begin to meet more often, whether for a walk in the garden or to watch Matthew play, and each of these moments only strengthens the bond between them. Michelle, who has always been bound by rules and conventions, begins to realize that, with Nicholas by her side, she can truly be herself. He sees her not as a civil servant, but as a woman with desires, dreams, and fears. And she, in turn, discovers in Nicholas not only a boss, but a man of integrity, whose soul is rich in kindness and whose presence makes her feel safe and loved. One night, after putting Matthew to bed, Michelle finds Nicholas on the balcony, looking up at the starry sky. The air is cool, and the moon gently illuminates their faces. She approaches him slowly, and he, upon noticing her presence, smiles in a way that makes her heart race. Have you ever thought about how the stars are always there, even when we can't see them? He asks, breaking the silence. Michelle turns to him, intrigued, and Nicholas continues, it's like feelings. They've always been there, even if we haven't always noticed them. Nicholas' words touch Michelle deeply. She senses that he's talking about more than just the stars. She feels the weight of those words in her heart. With a timid step, she moves closer to Nicholas, enough so that their arms lightly touch. The electricity of this contact makes her feel alive in a way she hasn't felt in a long time. I think I'm starting to see the stars in a different way too, Michelle answers softly, her voice thick with emotion. She looks at Nicholas, and what she sees in his eyes encourages her to take the next step. Without thinking too much, just following what her heart screams, she leans in and presses her lips against his. The kiss is soft, sweet, but full of promise. It's a relief, a release of all the feelings they've both kept bottled up. As they pull away, Nicholas gently holds Michelle's face, his gaze full of affection and adoration. I'll always be by your side, Michelle, he whispers, his words more than a promise. From that moment on, everything changes. Michelle and Nicholas, without any more fear or hesitation, surrender to the love that has grown between them. Their days are filled with laughter, affection, and a deep complicity. Matthew, happy to see the two of them together, unites them even more, as a family that was destined to find each other. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable are now faced with each other's support. They know it won't always be easy, but they also know that together they can overcome anything. The love they shared, born of small gestures and big emotions, becomes the foundation of a happy and fulfilled life. And so, under the starry sky that witnessed their first kiss, Michelle and Nicholas begin a new journey, not as boss and maid, but as two hearts that have finally found each other and united in a true and eternal love. The ending they built together is just the beginning of a story where love, trust, and happiness will reign forever.